It's the Brian Whitman Podcast Show here at brianwhitman.com. Thank you for joining me. To all our members, to all our subscribers who have parted with $5 a month. It's just $5 a month. And every day you get a brand new podcast here at brianwhitman.com. And we load the podcast around 5 o'clock Pacific time, around 8 o'clock Eastern time. Of course, last night I was on the actual radio with my buddy Tim Conway Jr., who did a wonderful and very festive. I mean, it was sad, but it was fun when Conway did his last show last night on 97.1 FM Talk, and what a pleasure it was for me to be invited. Tim asked me if I would come and do the show with him, and of course I said yes, and Doug Steckler showed up, so it was Conway and Steckler and Whitman, and the three of us all in one room, and we took a great photo that I think I have to have framed, and it was Randy Wang, who's been a fan of 97.1 forever, to see Conway, Steckler, and Whitman sitting there, all three chairs that was kind of weird, right?
Yeah, you noticed that I had to go to the bathroom and change my pants, right? Came right in the pants, dude.
Yeah. Take it easy on me in the first couple of seconds with body functions.
Yeah, but no, it was unbelievable to see you guys together, and it sounded amazing, and it was one of the nights I will never forget that night for the rest of my life. We did an awesome ending show.
It was a great show. I've heard last shows, and in a short while, I'm going to share with you because what this reminded me of, it reminded me of a couple of things, actually. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, by the way. I came home and I was kind of amped up from the show. But it reminded me of being 15 years old, 16 years old. It was 1988. I was back in New York on Staten Island in New York when the old 66 WNBC, the home of Don Imus and the one-time home of Howard Stern in the afternoon, signed off the air forever. And a great guy, a great broadcaster named Alan Colmes, who you see on the Fox News Channel, was the afternoon host. And he signed off. NBC went out of the radio business. And I was a listener to his show and a caller. I used to call in and do stupid voices on his show. And they did a big countdown to the end of WNBC. And they played the old NBC chimes. Boom, boom, boom. And for those who are subscribing, who are listeners perhaps who first met me at WABC in New York, maybe you were around that day when I'm getting calls from people. Leave me alone here. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of that moment as a listener listening to that wonderful radio station, WNBC, which was a lot like 97.1, but not as edgy. It was still AM, but it was free form. You know, we're doing a show. Got to turn the damn phone off, or else people keep calling. I shouldn't have my cell phone on, but I use it for the clock.
All right.
Anyway, you don't have a watch on you, do you?
Well, this thing has a timer on it.
Oh, all right, cool. So just keep me abreast of the time. I'm going to turn this phone off.
Yeah, we've got a new setup now. We got rid of the podcasting equipment, and now we've got a mixing board and MP3 recorder. It sounds a little better today.
Yeah, it does, and I hope our subscribers notice the difference and appreciate it. But that's what I felt like. I felt like I was back in time 21 years ago when WNBC went off the air. It was a pleasure to be asked to be there, and Miles Berman put it very well. Hey, do you believe in the Constitution? Do you believe the police always tell the truth and never lie? Breathalyzers are voodoo science. Miles Berman put it well. He said it's like being at someone's funeral, but they're still alive. And it was great to be there. Randy Wang got totally bombed. There was a lot of alcohol, and I did not partake at all. You'd be very proud of me. But Randy Wang, the show started, and you were cool.
I was cool.
But at 11:01, when the show ended with Tom Leykis, was that really Tom?
That was really Tom.
Are you sure?
Tom was really there.
Right, but at the end of the show, the old Carol Burnett theme, I'm so glad we've had this time together.
He got really emotional, and he started singing that. And
that was Tom singing?
That was Tom singing Carol Burnett's I'm So Glad We Had This Time Together.
You're sure it was Tom?
It was Tom.
All right. So after that played, you emerged from the studio, and you were totally S-faced. So I can only conclude that you were drinking heavily in the booth during the show, because At 8 o'clock, Randy Wang, straight, fine. 11 o'clock, totally blasted. And in those 3 hours, you were working, so a little drinking on the job?
Basically, yeah, I had about 6.5 beers and a pot brownie on the air. It's my last night running the board, you know. I like to enjoy it, and I still, I ran the show perfectly. Did you hear anything wrong?
No, you did a great job, and that's one of the cool things about 97.1. That kind of stuff was always allowed, and the alcohol and all of that. I mean, totally different from some other companies I've worked for, some other radio stations I've worked for, where they'd fire you for that type of thing. But at 97.1, you got promotions for that kind of. If you did that kind of thing enough, you got pay increases. So it was a classic on the Tim Conway Jr. show last night, which we're talking about here on the Brian Whitman podcast show. It was a classic farewell, and it also reminded me of the final show done by Rick Dees. And those of you who have listened to Conway and Whitman or listen to me at KABC or WABC in New York, you know that I worked for many years with Rick Dees, almost 14 years, doing comedy bits and impressions on the Rick Dees morning show. And I was there in 2004 on February 10th when he did his final show. And I have a very rare, this is actually a little piece of radio history, and I want to play it since radio stations are signing off. And today at 5 o'clock, 97.1 will no longer be an FM talk station. It will switch format to AMP 97.1. But since we're talking about classic radio stations and personalities going off the air, I want to play this for you. This was, my gosh, this is 5 years old now. This was the way, and this runs a few minutes, so get ready. It features highlights and some music. This was the way the legendary Rick Dees, after 22 or 23 years at KISS FM, this is how Rick Dees signed off the air for the very last time at KISS FM 5 years ago.
Good morning. This is Rick Dees in the morning. I hope you're feeling great today. It's an honor and a privilege to host the #1 revenue-generating radio show of its kind in America. How exciting it is to know that this morning radio program brings in more money than any other of its kind in the country. And to my morning team and the entire KISS staff through the years, I owe an enormous debt of gratitude. Also, the Rick Dees Weekly Top 40 continues to be the #1 contemporary music countdown of the world, with millions and millions of listeners in countries with names that are difficult to pronounce. I look forward to many more years of counting down the hits around the world and on Armed Forces Radio, too. Hey, we're even on in Beijing every weekend now, and it's right here on KISS FM. To my wife, Julie, all my love. To my son, Kevin, buddy, you are the original listener, even before you were born. It has been decided that I will no longer be doing the daily morning radio show on KISS FM. Now, how do you say goodbye to someone who means so much to you? The listener. Someone whom you've literally awakened for years. Someone to whom you've gently said, wake up, or maybe not so gently. It's a new day. Let's get going. Could I cheer you up with maybe a story or a joke or a wild character on the telephone? Or even, wake up, I'm sorry I have some bad news today, but I promise, if I possibly can, I'm going to cushion the blow for you, to be here to listen and hopefully make you feel better. How do you tell that person you love so much goodbye? To paraphrase from my favorite book, God put you and me together each morning, and what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. I really do love you, and I pray for you and your family each day before I begin this radio show. God bless you from the heart of my microphone. And thanks.
And now here he is, strong enough to bend records with his bare hands, able to tell tall tales in a single breath. It's Super Dees. Yes, Super Dees. Strange visitor from another neighborhood with powers and abilities far below those of mortal male and female people.
Live, high atop Sunset and Vine. It's the Rick Dees Show. He is in rare form today.
Rick Dees in the morning. Tell us what time it is.
Oh, it's early.
Hey, how many D's Grease is it?
I'm upset because you keep coming with this Mickey Mouse shit. I don't need that. I just need the basic hookup, okay?
You may need the Playboy channel.
I don't need that. Just give me the basic hookup. Can you do that? Okay?
You're getting the basic candid phone, Earl. It's Rick Dees.
What's happening, Rick?
¡Órale, pues!
Okay, all right.
Whoa, here we go.
Oh gosh. Okay. We just had an earthquake.
That was not a little one.
That's not a little one. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
What do we do here? Don't panic. That's the first thing. Jack.
Long ball.
It's Rick Dees in the morning here.
Long ball Ricky D's in the morning. Make you unbelievable.
You don't throw a whole life away just because he's banged up a little.
It's never possible to feel what a parent can feel in this situation. I can only tell you that first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to accept a check for $1,000 and a huge. This is the biggest bag of toys I have ever seen. Yes, there's a silhouette of a plane's fuselage in black in that building. You can see the wingspan, and I'm calling it terrorism, wouldn't you?
What would you call terrorism if this wasn't it?
Last week, we made a commitment to get Mark Thalander a new arm, and a prosthetic arm is very expensive for what they have to do with this arm. It's $50,000. I can report to you now, we hit $50,000.
I hold in my hand the last envelope. You'll be leaving right after this.
That was in the Inquirer. Klaus Autohaus, Klaus Meisterhoff speaking.
Oh, no! Hello, this is Glinda the Good Witch on the morning with Rick Dees on 102.7 KISS FM and 222.
No budget.
And what about me?
It's so big!
Hello, Rick. Yeah, you like that?
Hey, Rick, it's Poor Man.
Hey, yeah.
I'm Commander Chuck Street flying Yellow Thunder for Rick D's in the morning.
You just won $1 million! It's Rick Dees, and I bet something really good is getting ready to happen to you right here on KISS.
Love is very patient and kind, never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do it wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. If you love someone, you will be loyal to him no matter what the cost. You will always believe in him, always expect the best of him, and always stand your ground in defending him.
I love you, buddy.
Love you, Dad.
And you know me, Randy Wang. I stood there with a pair of headphones on in a very crowded studio, just like last night at KLSX. And what did I do?
You probably started crying.
Absolutely. And it was caught on tape, and it was on Channel 7, me crying. Kind of a low point for me.
Well, I mean, that's a big moment. I cried last night.
I did not cry last night. It was festive for me. I did not cry. I was emotional, and there was I had a few moments with Tim on the air that were not Conway and Whitman arguing or not goofing around or doing a bit, but I shared some heartfelt moments because Tim Conway Jr. has been such a great friend to me that got a little knot in my throat for a moment, but did not cry. You were a mess, though, but I think that was the alcohol.
Well, yeah, I was a little drunk, but we were celebrating. I mean, everyone kept saying, do you want a beer? Do you want a beer? And, of course, I want a beer.
Well, there's no other answer for you when that question's asked. In my experience around you, when the question is, do you want a beer, the answer is yes.
Well, we learned this a while ago, and you know this about me, Brian. I have trouble saying no to anything. Whether it's work, whether it's food, whether it's booze, whether it's pot, I don't say no to anything.
Sex with women.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, it's the Brian Whitman podcast show at brianwhitman.com. Thank you for joining me. If you're a subscriber, by the way, the subscriber numbers are going up and up and up, and all you have to do is go to brianwhitman.com. For the cost of a cup of Starbucks, you get an entire month of shows at brianwhitman.com. Some guests who have committed to coming on the podcast in the future, my buddy Tim Conway Jr., and could it be possible, now that Tim is available, could it be that Tim and I, Randy, could it be that you have witnessed conversations between Tim and me about reuniting and doing a podcast or an internet show or a radio show together?
It would be a dream come true if Conway and Whitman reunited on the internet.
Or a radio station.
Or a radio station.
But is it possible that you've witnessed conversations between Tim and me about just that?
I think we've all been discussing a few things, and it sounds like a great answer, and I think that's definitely a great way to go in the future.
brianwhitman.com, and the second he's available to come over here and be a guest, he said he'd come by anytime. Another great guy who said, I mentioned this the other day, said he'd come by anytime. Frank Kramer here. Frank Kramer is going to come by and be a guest on the podcast show. John from the John and Jeff show said he would come by, John Boyle. The legendary Rick Dees, the real Rick Dees, who we heard from, will be on the podcast show. Stephanie Miller, my friend, who I've known since I'm 18 years old, she'll come by. And last night on the air, I thought the audience in the final half hour of the Tim Conway Jr. show, since I was invited back, I thought the audience deserved at least a few final awkward moments between Tom Leykis and myself. And I've asked Tom Leykis to officially ask CBS if he has permission to be a guest on this podcast show. And I also asked Tom if I would be a guest, if I would be welcome in his home. His answer was a little nebulous.
Well, he said yes, but then Gary was shaking his head no.
Yeah, his producer was shaking his head no, like that won't happen. But Tom said I'd be welcome in his home.
I believe that he would really welcome you in his home.
Tom was also asked by Tim if for $100 million, would you do a show with Brian Whitman as your partner for $100 million a year? And Tom said no. At that point, I said, Tom, I think this is a little personal. No, it's not. I don't work with a partner. I did once, and he and I were not on the same wavelength. He didn't view us as equals. He said to me one day, maybe you should just write material and not be on the air. So I work alone, and that's what I do. So it's not personal, Brian. But it's $100 million. He refused to be my partner. For a $100 million offer, he wouldn't partner up with me.
I mean, Tom's always said that cash is king. All he cares about is money. So if he's,
I think there's a few other things he cares about.
Yeah, but for $100 million, if he wouldn't do it, it's because he doesn't want to do it with you.
No, Randy, I got that. I mean, it became crystal clear because Tim started at $4 million,
$3 million, and Tom already makes way more than that.
I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. The Tom Leykis salary, and when he's a guest here on the podcast, if he gets permission from CBS, which I don't believe he ever will come to the podcast here. But we'll always have him here, courtesy of me. And, Brian, I do make a lot of money. Perhaps on the air I did exaggerate. But guess what happened after the last show last night?
What happened?
Who do you think, between Tom and me, a very pleasant, very professional, very nice, water under the bridge conversation happened between Tom Likas and myself last night at about 11:15 after Conway's last show? Who do you think initiated that conversation?
Brian David Whitman?
Absolutely. I went up to Tom and I said, Tom, thank you for many entertaining moments on the radio. And he said, well, that's our bit. That's what you and I do. And I said, I hope you know that I am a fan. I do know that. And I said, I hope you really do. And I touched the back of his head. I touched his hair.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Or maybe his shoulder. I touched his leather jacket. But I touched him. It was really weird. And then I said, and I hope you know that throughout all of it, it was never, ever personal. I know that. And then I repeated, I hope you do. And he said, I do. And then he left. We had a few other laughs about something, and he took off. So, also, I want to say congratulations to Teresa Strasser of the Adam Carolla Show. She announced on the air this morning, Friday, the 19th of February, the day the FM talk dies in Los Angeles. Teresa Strasser announced that she's pregnant.
She is pregnant, but it's the 20th, Brian.
I asked you before we went on what the date is, and you told me the 19th.
No, it's the 20th.
You know why I'm thinking the 19th? Because that was a big day for me for yesterday. I had it marked on the calendar forever. It's the 20th.
Yeah, but Teresa Strasser, the Adam Carolla Show, announced that she is pregnant, and that was a great way to wrap up a storyline and that show ending.
But it is Friday, right?
It's Friday.
All right.
You got to get a watch, dude.
Is it February?
Yeah.
And it's 08?
No, it's 09.
All right. It's Friday, February 20th, 2009.
How does a 36-year-old man not know what day, week, or year it is?
When you kick sleeping pills, you don't get a lot of sleep. So there's that.
Well, I don't get a lot of sleep either, and, I always know what day it is at least.
Yeah, and, I noticed here with your technological savvy and the way you set up the podcast every day, your lack of sleep has no effect on your ability to set up a podcast and deal with technology. I mean, you come in here like a thoroughbred, and you hook all of this up. I can tell your sleep deprivation, Randy Wang, has not affected at all your performance.
Well, 99% of the time I'm sleep deprived because of my work schedule, which is over now. But no, it's not that. It's brand new equipment. I'm learning this stuff from scratch as we go along.
It's the Brian Whitman Podcast Show every day at brianwhitman.com. It's a brand new show. You can download it. You can listen to it on your laptop, listen to it on your desktop, listen to it right over the computer. You can download it to an MP3 player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put it in your iPod and listen to it. You can burn it onto a CD and listen to it in the car. And we're here for you every day. It's just $5 a month, and you get a month of Whitman for just $5 simple bucks. Does Teresa Strasser know what she's having, or is it too early?
It's way too early.
Okay, so we don't know. But she has one already, right, or she has none?
No, this is her first pregnancy.
First pregnancy. Does she have any dogs?
No, I don't think she has any dogs.
So she has no children?
No. She had cats, but...
Oh, well, those are children, four-legged children.
They're cats.
Hey, Babu, I got to be honest. Oh, Timmy, look, Timmy, man.
Timmy Conway Jr.
Hey, I got to be honest with you, man. For Christ's sake, man. I got a beautiful baby daughter, man. And she got 2 legs, dude. I counted them last night, man. There's just 2 there. And for dudes like me and dudes in the car, man, with real human children, you know what I mean, my brother? When they hear you start talking about this crazy, yes, man, that you got kids, but they got 4 legs, you sound like a mother effing nut, man. All right, thank you for coming by, Tim. I appreciate it. And it was a great pleasure for me to be with Doug Steckler, too, to spend time with Doug Steckler. We had so many laughs talking about radio horror stories, comparing termination stories, And Steckler and I, who had met, of course, I had met Doug Steckler before I joined Conway in 2005. I had been a guest many times on the Conway and Steckler show. And I love Doug Steckler, and he is certainly one of the smartest and funniest men that's ever walked the earth. We were cracking up talking about herbal supplements, and he's on the Nicorette, and now he's addicted to Nicorette after 8 years. But seeing Dougie sitting right there, and I sat right next. It was Conway and Steckler and Whitman sitting right next to each other there, and we didn't move for 3 hours.
It seemed really natural, dude, and it was such an honor for me to meet Doug Steckler for the first time on our last night on the air. He came into my air studio during one of the breaks and introduced himself to me, and it was really great to meet that guy.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, Dougie.
Wow, Dougie, look at you, man.
All right, we're doing Tim's Act still.
All right. By the way, I do have to make one negative comment. I do have to make a negative comment. It has been confirmed that yesterday on the Frosty, Heidi, and Frank show, and this sucks. I guess they were having a conversation with Jack Silver, who Jack comes into the studio sometimes. Around the station, we affectionately call him the Break Killer.
Oh, by the way, you'll like this about Jack. He came in the Corolla show on their final show to play his last promo.
Ooh. And by the way, break in radio is radio talk for a segment. So affectionately around the station, we call Jack the Segment Killer. Bob Moore, the wonderful general manager of the station for so many years, called Jack. He had another name for Jack. He called him the angriest man in the world. I think both are true. Angriest man in the world and break killer, segment killer. But he went on the air with Frosty, Heidi, and Frank, and maybe you heard this on the air. He was asked by somebody, or somehow it came up, hey, Jack, in all the years you've been at 97.1, what are the biggest mistakes you've made? And I guess his first response was, and this is Jack saying this, I would never say this, these are Jack's words, I'm only paraphrasing what he said. He apparently said his biggest mistake was the nasty man. And then I think Leo, the film freak, disputed that, or somebody disputed it, and then Jack said, okay, my biggest mistake programming this station for all these years was Johnny B., Jonathan Brandmeier. Now, say what you will about Jonathan Brandmeier. Jonathan Brandmeier is a mother-effing radio legend. He may not have been successful in Los Angeles, but Johnny B. in Chicago, Johnny B. is the king. I mean, he is a radio legend, a technician, a true radio talent. He is a great broadcaster. So, and Jack knew him for years and begged him, wanted him so bad at 97.1, gets Johnny B. And then on the second to last day, when it's supposed to be all love and happiness, he takes a shot at Johnny B. as one of the worst mistakes he'd made during his tenure as program director.
Oh, boy. And
then someone apparently said, no, Johnny B. wasn't your worst mistake. And then who do you go to? Whitman. Jack identified me apparently on the air by name as one of the biggest mistakes he'd made as program director at 97.1. Now, keep in mind, I've known Jack before I started working at 97.1 when I was, I think, 32 years old.
June of 05.
Right. So how old was I in 04? I was 32. I started at 32. I met Jack at 18. Jack and I had been working professionally together for 14 years. He knew what I sounded like on the air. He knew what my weaknesses were, what my strengths were. But apparently he said something on the air like, oh, Whitman looked good on paper. So Jack took a shot at me. I mean, just a final shot from the program director. You know what? I'm not going to let it make me angry.
It's just Jack being Jack.
Yeah, why should I give an S? Right?
Exactly.
I mean, he could be on the unemployment line right now.
He is.
No, he's at the station, isn't he?
Yeah, till 5 o'clock. Then he's on the unemployment line.
Yeah, probably wait till Monday before he does.
So am I.
You going down there?
Well, I'm going down there for the blow up at the station. Then everyone's going down to Matty Malone's after that.
You know, I've never, I have, some outside business and some outside work I've done. So I've never received unemployment. Of course, I've paid into unemployment for years and years. I've never accepted it. I've never gone down to that office. What do they pay you, Randy, for unemployment?
I have no idea. I think it's around like $350, maybe $400 a week.
But they tax it.
Yeah, but it's taxed, but
at a very low rate.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I haven't done it, but I might have to do it if I don't get something going.
Yeah, well, we're doing the podcast, BrianWhitman.com, the Brian Whitman Podcast Show. It's just $5 a month, and the subscriber number is building and building and building and building. And you might want to jump on now and become a subscriber and tell your friends because, well, Conway and I have had a couple of conversations about a reunion. And maybe it becomes the Conway and Whitman podcast.
That'd be awesome.
That's possible. And if me alone ain't worth $5 a month, Conway and Whitman together is worth at least $5 a month. So I suggest you get on board right now with this because big things could happen here. I mean, nothing could happen too. And I could move on and get back on the regular radio. But for right now, the podcasting is cool. And Randy, you make it so easy with your technical know-how.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
By the way, before I'm sorry. Excuse me for interrupting you on my show. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say you keep selling the podcast to people that have already subscribed.
No, I want them to tell their friends.
No, but this is the first time you said tell your friends. You keep saying for $5 a month, and they've already subscribed.
No, it's not the first time I said tell your friends.
This is the first time in this show you said tell your friends.
Well, here's the second time. Tell your mother effing friends that Brian Whitman is available every day, no commercials. BrianWhitman.com. You can pay on PayPal with your credit card, and you're registered, and you get the show, and you download it, or you listen to it on the computer.
And by the way, if anybody knows an easier way to do that stuff, send us an email at what's your email address, Brian?
My email address is my name, BrianDavidWhitman@gmail.com. But I'm not the technical guy, so I'm going to give your email address because if somebody knows an easier way or has a tip, and by the way, a lot of people have reached out to me for help, but I'm holding on to you because I love you.
I love you, Brian.
All right, but I'm getting a lot of offers. People email, hey, for free, I'll come down and hook it up. But I'm holding on to Randy Wang, so I love the Wang man. Who brought you into 97.1? Conway and Whitman.
Conway and Whitman.
So...
No, you guys gave me my start in radio, and I'll never forget it.
For the technical help, which he so desperately needs.
Oh, come on. We got it set up.
His email address is his name, randywang2@gmail.com. randywang2@gmail.com, or email me. My email address is my name. BrianDavidWhitman@gmail.com. Tom, what happened to your uvula is on my patio table here. You might want to reinsert that. Oh, is that what that is? Hold on once. It's kind of gelatin-like.
What are you doing? I thought you guys made up now.
Well, it's a muscle. It's a muscle. It's a gelatin. It's a gelatinous. Oh, would you mind, Randy, handing me that uvula, please?
Here you go, Tommy.
Thank you. Let me just reinsert this here. Wow. All right. So there we go. The uvula is intact. By the way, this week for our subscribers, you're going to get a big radio boner for this one, unless you're a chick. And then you get the other response, the other biological response. We are going to do an extra show for you on Saturday, and we may do an extra show on Sunday. But we're committing now to definitely doing an extra show on Saturday. Because yesterday I didn't do a podcast because I was live on 97.1 for 3 hours, and you could hear plenty of me. I mean, I was there for 3 hours, Randy.
3 hours, that's all you asked.
I stole that line from Sean Hannity. But as soon as I got to 97.1, I said to Conway, I said, dude, I'm going to start saying this on the air a lot. 3 hours a day is all we ask. And I believe he still, to the final days, used that phrase.
Not so often, but last week he said it once or twice.
All right, so that's using it, Randy. All right. So you didn't get me on the podcast yesterday, but you got me for 3 hours on the radio. And I was in there trying my best, and I did the best I could.
Totally. You did amazing. You were wonderful, Brian. You're the best radio talent out there. Is that what you want to hear?
No, dude. I just want you to be honest. because podcast shows are about being honest.
Okay, it was great. No, you were unbelievable on 97.1.
Had a great time. When I was there, when I showed, this is what I said to Gina Grad last night as she cried on my shoulder. I said, I have very mixed emotions. I said, I'm proud of one thing and not proud of another. I said, the work I did on the air, the impressions, the comedy bits, the fun with Conway, even the entertaining arguments with Conway, I'm proud of the radio entertainment. I'm not proud that, admittedly, I called in sick too much. I had a lot of personal S going on. So professionally, I didn't live up to the standards that I had established for myself and had maintained for my entire career. So I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of the inconveniences that I subjected my coworkers like Conway and Jerry and Randy and Gina to by being absent as often as I was. So I'm not proud of that, but I am proud of the work I did when I was there, which is what Bob Moore said to me, and I said it on the air last night. Brian, it's not a problem with you on the air. You're great on the air, but Jesus Christ, you've got to come to Mother effing work. So he hit me with that. You know who was supposed to call and did not call? And I hope he's doing well. My KABC buddy, great broadcaster, excellent talk show host. Having a stroke. Randy, you have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Stroke.
Yeah, you want me to call?
911.
All right.
Get him over here.
All right.
How's the left side? Drooping? Is it drooping? The left side of my face?
Dude.
Is it
lie down.
Is it drooping?
Yeah, we got to go.
No, is it drooping? It is drooping?
It's drooping, dude.
All right.
Come on. Let's just get the hell out of here.
No, I can't leave yet. I have to finish.
Dude,
no.
You're having a fucking stroke.
No, dude, I've recommitted myself to being present and a greater work ethic. Is there foam?
A little bit, dude. Why don't you have a glass of water?
All right, hold on. Left side?
Yeah, dude.
Right side foam?
Yeah, just drink some water. Maybe that'll cure you.
All right, hold on. That ain't water that you're drinking.
I don't know what was in there.
You just gave a stroke victim gin. All right. Al Rantel. Oh, the great Al Rantel from Talk Radio 790 KABC, where, the ABC stands for Always Be Conservative. It does. I learned that after a few years there. Somebody told me. They said, Whitman, you might not know. I said, it's the American Broadcasting Company, right? They said, no. It's Always Be Conservative.
Did they like you over there as a liberal?
Yeah, I was accepted by the audience and my coworkers. It was at KLSX, I was accepted by the audience. Some coworkers did not accept me. At KABC, my coworkers, all of them, got along great. And got along great with the listeners. Because you know why? I never took it too seriously. I would, give my liberal spiel, but never, always try to, goof off or imitate Al Rantel or get a laugh.
Yeah, comedy supersedes politics in every way.
I've said since I'm 13 years old and got in this mother effing business, I never got into talk radio to convince someone for whom they should vote or for what they should believe or for whom they should have faith in terms of public figures. I got into radio for the sole purpose of entertaining listeners. That's what I've wanted to do. A lot of times I have failed. A couple of times I hit the mark. A lot of times, slightly off. Al Rantel did not call. I emailed with him yesterday. I said, Conway wants you to call for the last Tim Conway Jr. show. Oh, no. Well, I'm off tonight, so I'm having full hip replacement, which, by the way, to be a talk show host at KABC, you can't have your original hip. Or to be a talk show host at KABC, you can't have your original knee or hip.
Did he get a deal through the advertiser?
Oh, absolutely. If you need a hip replacement, call Dr. Hip Replacement. Call the Hip Replacement Center. Tell them Al Rantel sent you, and they'll give you a free consultation. So don't go it alone. If you need a hip replacement, this is not something you do at home by yourself. Go to a doctor, get a free consultation, and they put you under, and the next day you're walking around, running around like some crazy liberal with a brand new hip.
It's also a requirement you have to be on probiotics.
Natron's Healthy Trinity. Your body needs, we always talk about bacteria, but, your body needs bacteria. There's good bacteria that your body needs. And Natron, 1-888, I think, 4 Natron. That's a free commercial for them. They should sponsor this podcast. But I'm not taking commercials. Certainly not right now. Is there a line? Has the phone rang about commercials yet?
Not yet, bro.
All right, dude. Is the phone plugged in?
No.
No, you're supposed to say yes there.
Yes.
All right, that would have been the punchline. Let's try it again. Are there people lining up for commercials yet?
Oh, totally.
No, you say no, and then I say, is the phone plugged in?
I'm out of it.
Well, you're drunk. Teaching comedy is difficult. Are people lining up for commercials yet?
No, they're not.
Is the phone plugged in?
Yeah, I checked it earlier.
No, did it.
Yeah.
I checked it earlier. As Rick Dees would say, is gilding the lily. It's add it. You already got it. You already got the punchline. Don't add to it.
Dude, I haven't slept more than 3 hours a day the whole week. I'm totally out of it.
All right, what more did I want to say? I was honest. Al Rantel. Al Rantel did not show up, and do you know why?
Why?
Because he renewed his deal with OnStar.
Really? He's doing that again?
Yeah, well, you remember that I played for Conway and you the commercials that Al Rantel did for OnStar. OnStar, the service in your car. If you have an accident or you have a problem with your car.
Brian, we're not doing commercials here.
No, but these are just demo spec spots. They're not paid commercials.
No, but you sound like you're about to do a commercial for OnStar.
It's a comedy bit. It's a setup for a comedy bit. All right? Trust me, I can do this. So Al Rantel went into the studio and he cut some commercials for OnStar. Al Rantel, the spokesperson for the OnStar service. I don't know if you've heard these, but listen to this.
An OnStar conversation, June 19th, 2004.
OnStar emergency, this is Anita.
Hello, this is Al Rantel. I'm on the 405 freeway and I'm being followed by a liberal.
One moment, I contact the police.
Every month, OnStar offers help in thousands of emergencies.
911. What's the situation there?
Well, look, I'm going to tell you what I told Anita. I've got a liberal behind me, one of these tax and spend liberals, one of these Sacramento types who never met a tax increase he didn't like. And he's following me.
Are all the children out of the vehicle at this time?
No, I don't have any kids. Don't be stupid. Do me a favor, just get this liberal away from me.
Okay, we're sending emergency units out to you now.
The peace of mind OnStar offers is more affordable than you might think.
Hello, they have all the emergency people on the way.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? That is great news. Thank you very much.
OnStar by GM. To learn more, visit OnStar.com.
All right, that's not a bad campaign for OnStar. I mean, because he's a public figure. That's like having a celebrity spokesperson.
It's awesome. I'd get OnStar because of Al.
Wow, that's works out perfectly. And then the other one, Al Rantel used to broadcast in Florida. You know who else used to broadcast in Florida?
Dub Likas.
How are you, dear? Thank you. Have you seen my Adam's apple? Whoa, what is that on the console? That gelatinous?
Oh, Tommy, I don't know what an Adam's apple looks like, but it looks kind of like an apple, but it's smaller. Randy, do you think that is his Adam's apple?
I'm not touching that, dude.
What is that? Can you please then use a tissue? Hand that to me. Thank you, dear.
There you go.
Thank you. Let me reinsert my Adam's apple. Just get it in there. And we're back on the Tom Leykis Show. Put your headlights on today. At 5 o'clock this afternoon, I blow up 97.1, and it goes to a brand new format. But they work together in Florida. And Al Rantel was visiting, I guess, friends or something down in Florida when they had one of those terrible hurricanes. So when you're in the car and there's a massive hurricane and you're in danger, and if you have OnStar, I would assume you probably call him, right?
Yeah, call OnStar.
Well, that's what Al Rantel did.
An OnStar conversation, August 13th, 2004.
OnStar Center, this is Michael. I may help you.
Hello, Michael. This is Al Rantel. I used to live in Florida, and I'm visiting some friends down here. Try to evacuate because of this stupid hurricane.
Sorry to hear that. I'd be more than happy to help you. Let's start with a home telephone number.
My phone number is 1-800-222-KABC.
OnStar can send a signal to unlock your doors in most cases.
This is Michael from OnStar calling to let you know your vehicle's now unlocked.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? That is great news. Thank you very much.
Have a good evacuation.
What does that mean? Have a good evacuation. What is that? That's what, are you stupid? Have a good evacuation. You must be a liberal.
Try to stay dry.
Unbelievable. Oh, boy.
Okay, please know we're here whenever you need us.
Don't be a dum-dum. Oh, boy. Unbelievable.
OnStar by GM. To learn more, visit OnStar.com.
All right, Al Rantel, that is some good S. That is some good S. I hope he can close that account because he should be their spokesman. He really should. I've been a spokesman for in my life for, I've done commercials, voiceovers for a lot of, for GTE and department stores and
Wingnuts Realty.
I forgot about Wingnuts Realty. No, but I did real, national commercials for, do you know JCPenney? Back east, our subscribers know JCPenney and Bradley's, the department store.
Yeah, JCPenney's out here, dude.
I don't think I've ever seen a JCPenney. I've been in Southern California for 14 years. I don't think I've ever seen a JCPenney.
There's a JCPenney's at every other mall in L.A.
Oh. Maybe I go to the mall maybe in the past, maybe some blackouts.
Right there at the Burbank Mall, there's one.
I don't go to the Burbank Mall.
Well, it's not the Fashion Square, but
I go to Sherman Oaks Mall.
Yeah, there's not one at the Sherman Oaks Mall.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, so I was JCPenney's. I did a TV. I was a TV spokesman for Pepsi as a teenager. Have you ever seen that commercial?
I have not seen that commercial.
By the way, can we get that video and put it on BrianWhitman.com?
If you have it.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm 16 years old. I have a full head of hair, not as full and thick as Randy Wang, who has great hair, but I mean a full head of hair, and they cast me to hold the Pepsi can and do a 30-second commercial and talk about some contest, like where you unscrew the Pepsi and you look at the cap and you win concert tickets. And so I did that. I was 16, and I gotta find that video first, and then we gotta put it at BrianWhitman.com.
Oh, we'll totally put that up.
We could put that video up, right?
Yeah.
And then that hits YouTube, and then it's worldwide embarrassment.
Yes, Brian.
Excellent. All right. And then I was a spokesman, and very happy to be for a great guy, really a great guy. People get on him for what he does for a living, but the Top Gun DUI defense attorney, Miles L. Berman, I'm going to give him a free plug, 888-4-TOP-GUN. That's his number. He was there last night. He said, as I said, some very touching words.
Yeah, Miles is a great guy.
Miles is a great dude. And it turns out, did you notice he was handing out business cards?
Well, I mean, that's his core audience right there, radio people.
And, I mean, ancillary radio people, like the radio people who showed up, who brought friends who aren't radio people, they also seem to have the gene or be predisposed to the gene.
Yeah, by the way,
I'm referring to a genetic predisposition to liking certain substances. Radio people, I think above average, have that gene, and they find friends who have it, and when you get them all in one room for the Tim Conway Jr. final broadcast after 12 wonderful years of entertaining Southern California, there's a lot of drunks. And to have a DUI attorney there, I mean, was honest to Christ, Miles Berman should have been standing at the door when people were leaving. Hi, I'm Miles Berman. Here's my card.
Well, he was passing them out, but
seriously was?
He was passing out business cards. Now
to the staff.
Yeah, there were maybe 100 people there last night in our tiny little studio. And how many of those people you think called Miles that night on the way home,
or from jail? Because he gets calls from jail, dude. People call him because they hear the number on the radio, and I have been proud to be a spokesman for Miles Berman. You know, in the beginning when I was at KABC, that's years ago in '98 when I started endorsing Miles Berman, or they approached me, said, Miles Berman would like you to endorse him. I said, I will not endorse a DUI attorney. And then I met him, and I said, this is the nicest effing guy I've ever met. Sign me up. I'll endorse him. For a decade, I've been reading his commercials on the radio. He's put a lot of money in my pocket. So I love that Miles Berman. So those are my two spokesman roles.
Hey, what does Miles say about the breathalyzers?
Breathalyzer tests are voodoo science. And whenever we'd get Conway and I, we'd have Miles Berman on the air, get him on the air at KBC. Whenever somebody called and attacked him, and I said this on the air last night to Conway, this is his first line of defense. Pardon me, do you believe that the police always tell the truth and never lie? Is that not a question written by an attorney?
That totally is.
Followed by, do you believe in the Constitution? How do you possibly, if you're on the stand, if you're being deposed and you're asked by an attorney, Do you believe in the Constitution?
That's why he's Top Gun, dude.
Right. Can you say no to that? Can you say, no, I don't believe in the Constitution, sitting in a courtroom next to a judge, for God's sake? The question boxes you in.
It's great.
That's why he's an attorney. And he's got to be loaded, right?
He's got to be. In Southern California, with all these drunks, oh, yeah.
You know what he told me once? Because Miles and I have dinner together. We're friends. Miles, not too long ago, well, a number of years ago, and by the way, how weird is this? Neither one of them remember it, but I remember it. I went to dinner with Mark Germain, Mr. KBC, Miles Berman, the Top Gun DUI defense attorney, yours truly. We went to the Arroyo Chop House in Pasadena, California. Neither one of them, Mark or Miles, they do not remember the dinner. I remember it vividly, so I know it happened.
What if it was a dream?
No, it happened.
But if they don't remember it and you do, it must have been a dream.
No.
How come two people don't remember a dinner?
Well, I've said that I believe Mark Germain, Mr. KBC, does need to be screened for Alzheimer's, and I'm not I did, and I told him on the phone yesterday, I said, dude, I'll pay for the Alzheimer's screening. And I'm not making fun of Alzheimer's because God bless my Nana, my grandmother, Alzheimer's took her life, her earthly life was taken by Alzheimer's. I'm not making fun of it. But the point is I socialized with Miles Berman. You know what he told me? I don't know if you want me to say this on the podcast, on the Brian Whitman podcast show, at blahwhitman.com, blahwhitman.com, Brian Whitman podcast show, $5 a month. It's the cost of a cup of Starbucks, 25 cents a day, everybody, so be sure to know blah, blah, blah. Miles said to me, last year was my best year. I said, really? Like in terms of revenue. So I think the number of people hitting the roads, not that they're drunk, but they're alleged to be or being arrested for that, because simply being arrested for DUI does not automatically mean that you'll be convicted or lose your driver's license or
Brian, we're not doing commercials here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got caught up in the moment.
You can't tell people it's commercial free, and then you're doing a live read for Miles in the middle of the show,
dude. That just came out. It's like a
Freudian slip.
It's a biological reflex. It just comes out, dude. I apologize to you, and I apologize to our subscribers at brianwhitman.com. Tell your friends it's $5 a month. It's just $5 a month, and there's a chance. We've talked about it. Conway and I talk every day. The Conway and Whitman podcast could happen. Right now you got the Brian Whitman podcast. It's daily, Monday through Friday. And here's an extra, as I said a few minutes ago. Tomorrow, Saturday, you get an extra show. We're going to do a Saturday podcast. For the first week, we want to hook you in. We want this to be like crack. We want to hook you in, so you have to have it every day.
Well, if you want to make it like crack, Brian, I think you got to give us a little Likas laugh.
I don't get that.
Because that's...
I'm not going to associate Tom Likas with crack and get sued.
No.
Because there's no association between Tom Likas and crack.
No, you're totally misunderstanding me. You're totally misunderstanding me. The association is that laugh is so addictive, it's like crack.
Oh, you should say right now, for your own good, I have no knowledge of any association between Tom Likas and crack. You better say that now.
I have no association with Tom Likas and crack.
I am aware of no association.
I am not aware of any association. I was purely making
You better finish the
reference.
sentence, as I told you, unless you want your effing ass sued.
Okay. I am not aware of any reference to Tom Likas and crack cocaine.
Any association.
Any association to crack cocaine.
Or any drug.
Or any drugs.
Or any illegal activity.
No, Tom Likas is a wonderful person. I was just referring...
Or any illegal activity.
Or any illegal activity.
How old are you?
23.
I'm trying to save your ass, dude. I mean, you have nothing. Your assets are zero. But I mean, but
I think you're the one that misunderstood me.
All right.
The laugh is infectious.
Of all the emails I got last night after the final Conway show, most people said, well, not most, but a lot of people said, dozens of people said their favorite moment was when I turned to Likas and said, you know what? F it. I don't work here anymore. You don't work here. I don't give an F. And I got right in his face and I went, was that classic? How do you think he handled it?
He handled it great. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, Tom's a professional. And you've noticed this.
And you notice I, again, extended the olive branch to Tom, and it was a very nice parting. I said goodbye, and I was very professional.
When you and Tom...
I've known Tom since I'm 18 years old.
When
17.
you and Tom are in studio together, you're very cordial together. The only time that Tom becomes an ass is when Jack's in the room with him, like at the think tank 2 years ago. But every time you guys ever been in studio together, you've always been nice to each other, except for the one time where Silver was around and Tom thought he could get away with a lot.
Well, Randy, I'm a nice dude.
You are a nice dude.
Have you ever seen anyone in the 3 years, 2 years, and 9 months we worked together, did you ever see anyone come into the Conway and Whitman studio to whom I was rude?
Albert Hammond Jr.
That was not in our studio. That was backstage at the Grammys, and he deserved it.
He totally did.
He deserved it. But coming in the studio, rude to callers?
One caller particularly.
And snide and sarcastic to a myriad of callers.
But you're respectful to everybody.
Handshake.
Yeah.
Sometimes a hug. Always a thank you for coming in. Would buy soft drinks for them from the vending machine out of my own money, which I'm still waiting to be reimbursed.
No, you're respectful to everybody in that building except for Jerry Wachowski.
Huh. Now, that's not true. And we'll prove that when Jerry Wachowski is a guest. Jerry Wachowski, don't call him Jerry Gomez, because those days are over. The days of Jack Silver telling Conway there's not enough Jews in L.A. By the way, Jack, you're a Jew. We got to start calling him Jerry Gomez. And Conway says, Jack, dude, for 3 goddamn years I've been calling him Jerry Wachowski, man. For 4 or 5 goddamn years. Now I'm going to call him Jerry Gomez.
I really don't understand
Jerry.
like
Jerry is going to be a guest on the podcast. Last night I saw Jerry. He said, "When do I come in? When do I come in?" I said, "Jerry, relax. You'll get sufficient notice. You can come on and say whatever you want." I was never rude to Jerry.
No, Jerry's got to come in. You guys should play heads up poker on a podcast.
We'd have to play blackjack. I'm not a big poker dude. But no, you know what? Once or twice I was rude to Jerry, but he deserved it, because if he'd F up, technically, I'd go off on him.
What did Tim always used to say about Jerry? Content.
Thanks for the on-air cue. I appreciate it.
Well, I don't have a cue button here.
I got to be honest with you guys. This show, man, we're going to wrap it up here, too, at BrianWhitman.com, the Brian Whitman podcast show. I got to be honest with you, man. This show, the content of this show, what we do, man, what everybody does, man, Randy and Gina, man, and you with your impressions, man, and the stupid track stories I tell, man, content-wise, man, in terms of content, this is an awesome show, man. I would put this show up against any show, not just in Los Angeles, but on the entire effing planet, man. Content-wise, this show is second to none.
Yeah.
How about technically, Tim? It's absolutely horrible, man. It's an abortion, dude. I mean, technically, it is un-effing listenable, man. That was always Tim's review of the Conway and Whitman show. I'm Brian Whitman. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow. You get a special Saturday podcast. So wacky, 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 wacky radio boner time for your special Saturday.
What the hell was that?
It's going to be a wacky show.
Wacky, wacky, wacky radio boner time.
No, what I meant was it's going to be a wacky show, and you're going to get a big radio boner because you're getting a podcast on Saturday. And what am I doing Sunday other than being depressed? Sunday, I get totally depressed. Worst day of the week for me. So maybe we'll do one Sunday, but we're not committing to that. But Saturday, we commit to. All right. Have a great Friday. I'm Brian Whitman. Thank you for the wonderful calls, the wonderful emails, the wonderful listenership of 97.1 for the 2 years and 9-10 months I was there. I can't thank you enough for your support and your continued support as a subscriber to the Brian Whitman podcast show at brianwhitman.com. God bless 97.1, Free FM, the FM talk station, a station that I swear to God, wanted to work for. When I was working with Rick Dees, I had it in my head. One day, I got to work at that radio station, and I had a chance to do it, and it's an experience I cherish, and I will smile every time I think of that. I'll smile most of the times I think of that radio station.
I swear, I've been listening to 97.1 KLSX since I was 12 years old.
All right, the funeral's over, dude.
All right.
You can take the black shirt off.
But, I'll just tell you one quick story. And
Oh,
it's the
Christ.
first...
I was a perfect sign-off, dude.
Well, because you're talking about how great KLSX was.
Right, but I'm the host.
All right, fine. Fine.
No, tell me. You got to get it out. Get it out.
Okay, it's just a quick story. I remember being 12 years old, August of 1997, driving the car with my dad. First time I ever heard 97.1. I heard Tom Leykis doing a live remote in Seattle.
Did he have a stand-up comic on that he was laughing at?
He did not have a stand-up comic on. And this is the first inkling that radio was definitely a place I wanted to go.
By the way, the word is not hinkling, it's inkling.
I have no idea.
John Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan. Hinkling is not a word, my brother.
All right, can I tell the story?
Wait, in fact, if you can come back tomorrow with a dictionary that has hinkling in it, I'll give you a $100 bill. All right?
I'm going to dummy up a dictionary.
Tomorrow, present on this show a dictionary with the word hinkling, and it's worth $100.
Can I get back to my story?
If you're going to use words from the English language, yes.
All right. So
unless you want to do it in Spanish.
My first inkling to radio was Tom was doing this live broadcast in Seattle, doing Flash Friday, all this stuff. And this.
How long ago was he doing Flash Friday?
Since '98. Well, this was probably before Flash Friday. But this woman called in and said she got so hot talking to Tom that she was unbuttoning her jeans in the car.
She must have been looking at his picture too.
Oh, totally. But,
oh yeah, man.
But hearing that at 12 years old, that
yeah.
this guy on the radio can get a chick to take her pants off in the car, and like, this is a business I want to get into one day.
Yeah, no, you can get chicks being on the radio. I got a great story about that. I got to tell. Maybe I'll remind me tomorrow to tell my first radio chick story. Please remember that.
The one from Eagle 106?
Yeah. Did I tell it on the air ever?
Yeah, we told that when we did Rick D's demo reviews.
All right, but it's a great story. Remind me to tell it. By the way, speaking of getting chicks from being on the radio, how many up to so far?
0.
Way to go, dude. You're a stud. It's the Brian Whitman Podcast Show every day, Monday through Friday. Join us tomorrow, Saturday, for a special boner bonus show here at brianwhitman.com. Wacky, 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 wacky.